These are instances of misconduct that led to pop culture prominence.
And both Joey and Amy each have their own porn videos.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 people who became famous for being involved in a scandal.
The media and everybody else made it to be something else that it wasn't. It was never a hoax, not once, not ever.
For this list, we're focusing on individuals that figuratively cashed in on random fame. To be eligible, they can't have been particularly famous or in public consciousness before the scandal in question, nor should they come from a well-known family. They must also be currently living.
Fleiss gained fame in the 1990s when she ran a high-priced Los Angeles prostitution ring, providing models turned prostitutes to wealthy clients.
That being said, we're excluding people like Edward Snowden, who exposed a scandal rather than being the primary focus of it.
Her reaction this time would shock the world and change her life.
Number 10, Rachel Uchitel.
Losing two primary male figures in my life really affected me.
As a teenager, Rachel Uchitel lost her father to drugs. And years later, she lost her fiancé in the 9/11 attacks.
There had been, another plane that went in and I was still holding the phone, so I knew that Andy was still obviously on his floor.
These events unquestionably shaped Uchitel's sense of security as she moved forward with her life as a VIP hostess in Las Vegas. If ever there was a man that could fill such a void, Tiger Woods certainly fit the criteria.
Elin and I have started the process of discussing the damage caused by my behavior.
By the time the golfer's infamous 2009 scandal came to light, it was Uchitel's name that emerged as his alleged first mistress.
Does that make you feel guilty at all?
Yes.
The subsequent media exposure changed her life less than a decade after first gaining attention through one of the darkest chapters of American history. And it didn't stop there. The next year, she made headlines again after an alleged affair with married actor David Boreanaz.
I just really want to be happy and content.
Number 9, Kato Kaelin.
You were there the night she was killed, though, right?
I was at my guest house.
With Hollywood scandals, the focus is usually on the celebrity in question, with the incidental subjects seen only as minor bits of trivia. But that all changed with the O.J. Simpson trial, as blonde-haired bro and minor witness Kato Kaelin gained considerable attention thanks to his cliched California vibe.
You a little bit nervous today?
Feel great. A little nervous.
In other words, Kaelin had evolved into that dude who may or may not have heard a thump.
I don't know. I can't remember. I thought I heard a thump.
And though all the media buzz didn't necessarily reveal one of America's finest actors, Kato certainly took advantage of the opportunity, elevating himself from D-list actor to a notable figure of pop culture, if only for his name.
For instance, someone writing, "You scumbag." At Kato Kaelin, "You scumbag. I remember your testimony when you flipped back and forth when you knew OJ killed them. You are a piece of shit."
The trial also gave rise to rhyming lawyer Johnny Cochran, who knew how the fame game worked and played it well.
It's no disguise. It's no disguise. It makes no sense. It doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Number 8, Rachel Dolezal.
When did you start, and I'll use the word, you can correct me if you don't like it, when did you start deceiving people and telling them you were black?
In theory, you can be anything you want to be in life. A doctor, an astronaut, whatever floats your boat. But the important thing is how you choose to present yourself.
Well, I definitely am not white. Nothing about being white describes who I am.
For Rachel Dolezal, her collegiate artwork must have been deeply personal, as she essentially transformed her look during the process of it, and this ultimately led to a gig as the president of Spokane's NAACP chapter.
I can see hair coming out from underneath your wig.
This is a really inappropriate question.
As was revealed in 2015, Dolezal may look a certain way, but she's most definitely not a black woman, the evidence of which can be seen in photos of her as a younger woman. It's a curious case of 21st century individualism, but the origin story tells a much different tale. Number 7, Heidi Fleiss. Reflecting a more innocent time in Hollywood history, Heidi Fleiss ran a top-drawer prostitution ring that catered to anyone willing to cough up the money.
They put me in the middle of their really disgusting things, because you gotta admit, that's really disgusting.
Like, hi, honey, I just slept with 30 guys. Here's the money. Let's go home and sleep together.
After learning the tricks of the trade, Fleiss organized a well-oiled sex machine for Tinseltown. But the business hit the skids in 1993 when the feds caught on. As a result, Fleiss earned a variety of nicknames, such as the Hollywood Madam from the media, who also spilled that she had a black book containing the names of all the naughty celebs that were clients.
How did you spend the rest of the 90s after you faded from the headlines there?
I've been a drug addict. I'm lucky if I could remember yesterday.
Although a citizen of a pre-reality TV world, Fleiss was a perfect fit when the format came around years later. And she appeared on shows like Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew and Celebrity Big Brother.
Will you miss any of your housemates at all if you do leave?
No.
Number 6, Bernie Madoff.
And was just continuing in a pyramid fashion to get more investors' money and pretending to pay off the old people with new people's money. And now $50 billion in assets are wiped out, gone.
In 2008, the preeminent wolf of Wall Street was Bernie Madoff. And that's because when a massive Ponzi scheme was uncovered, defrauding nearly 5,000 investors out of approximately $65 billion, though the court-appointed trustee estimated it's more like $18 billion, it all led back to him.
I have no idea if I have any assets left at Madoff.
Long story short, Mr. Madoff destroyed the lives of those who trusted him, and in doing so, his actions led to a chain reaction of death, and landed him a hefty sentence of 150 years behind bars. But like so many corrupt businessmen, sometimes they just want you to know their name and correlate it with some grand idea. Unfortunately, far too many are familiar with the name Bernie Madoff.
It's odd for people to think that he's saying his life is better now. Here he is in prison for the rest of his life after all that he's done, and he seems at peace.
Number 5, Amy Fisher and Joey Buttafuoco.
Vulnerable. Okay. And I think he preyed upon my vulnerabilities.
An average teenage girl from Long Island, Amy Fisher's life took a drastic turn in 1992. And you can blame at least part of it on sexy times with Joey Buttafuoco. Not only was he almost 20 years the girl's senior, but he was also married. It was his wife, Mary Jo, that ultimately paid the price when Fisher shot her in the face with a pistol. Inexplicably, however, the public couldn't get enough of the Long Island Lolita, or saying the name Buttafuoco.
You're lucky the sexual predator law wasn't in effect.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, because you'd be a sexual predator.
That guy served a little over 4 months jail time for statutory rape, while Fisher served 7 years for aggravated assault.
I didn't realize how popular I was. I think it's from taking my clothes off.
She later capitalized on her infamy with a brief career in porn. Mary Jo Buttafuoco, meanwhile, filed for divorce from Joey in 2003.
Got to a point where after 20 years, you're like, everybody else is growing up. Why aren't you growing up?
Number 4, John and Lorena Bobbitt.
Testimony begins in a court case that has attracted international attention and been the source of countless off-color jokes.
Meet Lorena and John Wayne Bobbitt, a couple that experienced somewhat of a relationship fail in 1993. The couple was married just 4 years when Lorena made them household names. How? Well, she cut off John's penis while he slept and tossed the removed member out of a car window. Lorena was found not guilty on the grounds of insanity fueled by a history of sexual and mental abuse.
I did not mean it because I was under the battered woman syndrome, and that's what happened when a man pushes the woman so far and so low.
Meanwhile, John made multiple attempts to cash in on his notoriety by forming a band called The Severed Parts and by appearing in 2 porno films.
Basically show everybody that I'm healed and fully functional.
This story gets even stranger the more you look into it, but as a lasting legacy, the unspeakable act got a shout out in the classic David Fincher film Fight Club. So that's something.
You know, man, it could be worse. A woman could cut off your penis while you're sleeping and toss it out the window of a moving car. There's always that.
Number 3, Martin Shkreli.
I think profits are a great thing to sustain your corporate existence.
When Turing Pharmaceuticals acquired the license for an anti-parasitic medication called Daraprim in the latter half of 2015, the name Martin Shkreli meant nothing to pop culture pundits.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the witness be punched in his dumb, smug face.
But then he raised the price by well over 5,000%. Then he gave interviews that did little to change the public's view of him as anything other than a Bond villain.
Before the price increase, most hospitals had a bottle lying around and they were able to I feel it's getting hot in here.
Perhaps it's his League of Legends background, or perhaps it's pure greed. But Martin Shkreli loves the spotlight. He even managed to later acquire the lone copy of a Wu-Tang Clan album, Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, only to then start a beef with Ghostface Killah.
I think that if you ever say some dumb shit again, this album, this Shaolin, I'm gonna erase all your shit from this album.
In essence, Shkreli seemed destined for scandal, and seems to care very little about the media nicknaming him the most hated man in America.
Shkreli's former hedge fund, this is something called MSMB Capital, is alleged to have made significant misrepresentations and omissions to investors.
Number 2, Kim Kardashian.
Does everyone get a tape of this? Because I hope you do, so you can see me when I'm famous and older and remember me of this beautiful little girl.
By early 2007, the voluptuous daughter of the late O.J. Simpson attorney Robert Kardashian was known in certain elite crowds for her socialite persona. But after the release of a revealing sex tape with Ray J, well, pop culture aficionados recognized that something big was about to happen with Kim K.
For everyone that thinks my boobs are fake, they're real.
Although Kardashian may in fact be a marketing wizard when it comes to selling her brand, it was essentially introduced to the public by way of a bedroom romp.
Be off that drug called love.
She may just be one of the many Kardashians, but the bulk of the family's fame hinges on this one hormone-driven, character-defining moment.
I hit it, 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 I hit it first.
Before we reveal our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
Honey, if it makes you happy, I will remove all of the black people from my Instagram.
Which, was it big? How big was it? Seriously, I want to know. Come on, Divine, honey.
Was it good?
It was average.
As to the charge of first-degree murder, verdict as to count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty, so say we all.
Number 1, Monica Lewinsky.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
For this scandal to unfold, a number of events had to transpire. For 1, America had to elect a good old boy to the Oval Office. And 2, Monica Lewinsky, a Bel Air Prep graduate and later Santa Monica College student, had to land an internship at the White House.
It's not good for your self-esteem, and it's not a good situation to be in. It's not right.
And finally, both parties involved had to agree that Oval Office oral sex was a good idea. Turns out, though, that maybe it wasn't, at least morally speaking.
I haven't got a suit filed against the president. It's against Bill Clinton.
But as Paula Jones, an ex-Arkansas state employee who filed a civil lawsuit against Clinton for allegedly sexually harassing her when he was governor of Arkansas, and Linda Tripp, the White House co-worker who secretly taped her conversations with Lewinsky about Clinton, can attest. Sometimes a little scandal can open up a larger discussion in society.
I am not going to comment on what I did or did not say back in the late 90s.
And they can give the world a closer look at life in the White House. And though Monica Lewinsky probably didn't expect all that fame, she certainly got it.
I realized later that night, I'm probably the only person over 40 who does not want to be 22 again.
Do you agree with our list? Who do you remember becoming famous through a scandal?
On the advice of counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and respectfully decline to answer your question.
For more mind-blowing top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
Sorry, let me make this very simple for you. Are your parents white?
Wait. I don't really understand the question.